Right now at noon, a little bit more snow is in the forecast today. I'll talk about how much coming up.
Plus, Mother Nature makes it difficult for those of us heading back from the holiday weekend. The impact these recent storms had and are still having in the Midwest. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at noon. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Josh is off this week, and we begin with the weather, which is still a very big story on this Monday. Happy December, by the way. It's December 1st. After the first big snow of the season, we're still digging out, and there might be a little bit more snow on the way. Let's head over to Jacob Montesano in the Weather Center. Did you have any travel issues, Jacob?
No, actually, it worked. The timing of the snowfall was perfect because my Thanksgiving plans were Wednesday through Friday, and I got home before the snow had started. But I do know there were probably a lot of travel headaches, and although we are going to see more snow this week, we aren't going to see nearly as much as what we saw over the weekend. Now, as we take a look at the current radar, some very, very light flurries starting to move into our region. And zooming further out, this system, as you can see, significantly smaller than that system that moved through our area this past weekend. But there is a winter weather advisory in effect for areas to the south across northern Illinois. We are not under that winter weather advisory, but we still could see some of that snow. So it's going to move in over the next couple of hours, mainly for Madison and areas to the south. Further north, definitely could see some snow, but likely going to see only a dusting. Now, it's going to be hard to tell it is a dusting with all the snow that's already on the ground. And as we head into the evening hours, right around sunset, a lot of the region will see that snow have already come to an end. And by the time we get to around 9 p.m. to midnight, then it's certainly going to be gone, with just a few light flurries expected on Tuesday. But looking at the accumulation again, most of the area shouldn't pick up more than an inch. An inch of snow is about the max that we're going to see, and again, it's mostly going to be for Madison and areas to the south. So not too much of a hazardous snowfall this time around, but we are going to see some very, very cold temperatures a little bit later in the week. I'll talk more in detail about that coming up a little bit later.
All right, thank you, Jacob. And we want to remind everybody, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here today too, if you have some questions you want to email in. That powerful winter storm that we're still digging out for is blamed, unfortunately, for a 45-car pileup near Indianapolis and an icy tarmac situation in Des Moines, where a Delta Airlines flight from Detroit slid off the runway. And there are still some trouble spots out there yet today. Chris Van Cleve has more from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport.
The trek home from Thanksgiving ran right into Mother Nature.
I think I was supposed to take off like 7:30, and now it's looking around 11:30, quarter to 12.
The major winter storm that swept across the Midwest gridlocked the busy Chicago O'Hare Airport.
I'm Dave Malkoff. Look at this crowd at Chicago's O'Hare. This flight that's getting on board right now has been delayed since 5 a.m. Ed and Vanessa have been here since 3.
We were supposed to land at 9:30 this morning at home.
And it's
already
2 p.m. Central Time.
And the next flight they booked us on leaves at 9:45 tonight.
My original flight was yesterday, and then all of them got delayed and then canceled once I was on the plane.
More than 2,900 flights were canceled and over 21,000 delayed since Saturday.
Our flight to San Francisco was canceled, so now we are going from here to Orlando, and then we're going from Orlando to San Francisco.
The Des Moines airport was closed for hours Sunday after a Delta regional jet skidded off an icy taxiway in heavy snow Saturday night. Sunday was met with chaos on the rails. An Amtrak station was evacuated after a fire on an Acela train. Police say it was caused by a mechanical issue and spread to 3 cars. Meanwhile, drivers were facing heavy traffic with more possible this afternoon.
We came down to Denver from Wyoming to spend Thanksgiving with our son and daughter. I was surprised getting here how busy the gas station was.
In addition to the weather disruptions, JetBlue has been forced to cancel approximately 25 flights again today because of the ongoing safety issue with the Airbus A320 family of airplanes. JetBlue has about a dozen planes still grounded while they make the necessary updates. Sunday, the airline had to cancel about 170 flights, this coming on some of the busiest travel days of the Thanksgiving holiday. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Phoenix.
Turning now to some local news. Several fire departments responded to a barn fire in the town of Dane over the weekend. The fire happened near the Schumacher Farm Park. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says the barn was not being used at the time of the fire, and luckily no one was hurt. And in Dodgeville, 4 people are recovering this noon after a crash that happened Saturday morning during the heavy snowfall between Highway 18 and Berg Road. The Iowa County Sheriff's Office says 1 person was slightly hurt, 2 were seriously hurt, and 1 is critically injured. The construction industry is looking for a new generation to fill a huge worker gap. The problem is the construction industry can't replace retiring workers fast enough. Associated Builders and Contractors estimates the construction industry needs to attract more than 400,000 new workers.
When you're short of craft workers and skilled trades, it's hard to get jobs complete on time. And it's just the nature of it.
Tonight on News 3 Now at 10, our Chris Stanford shows us how a local school is getting students ready for a career in the trades. His special report is tonight at 10. Many Americans, most of us, are paying less now to fill up the gas tank. That's good news. The national average for a gallon of gas was $2.99 as of yesterday. That's according to Gas Buddy's online tracker. It's the lowest the average has been in 4 years. Officials at Gas Buddy say all 50 states saw a drop in gas prices over the past week, which they say is a rarity. Among the factors causing the overall decline, lower crude oil costs, record oil production in the U.S., and improvements made to refinery outputs. There's more to come today at noon, as we were mentioning at the top of the show. If you have a question for Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company, go ahead and email it to us now at tips@channel3000.com. She'll answer your questions a little later on News 3 Now at noon. And coming up next, how much we're all spending online for Black Friday, plus why some convertible high chairs are now being recalled. Important news for parents when we come back.
Americans spent close to $12 billion online for Black Friday, according to Adobe Analytics. Cyber Monday bargains are also expected to bring record spending today. Cybersecurity experts are, however, warning shoppers to beware of online scams, from bogus bargains that look too good to be true to misspelled URL scam sites and sites asking for alternative payment forms. The Consumer Product Safety Commission announced a recall of convertible high chairs due to what it says is the risk of serious injury or death from fall and entrapment hazards. The federal agency says the chair, which was sold on Amazon earlier this year, violates the mandatory standard for high chairs because they were sold without the required attached restraint system. In addition, the Safety Commission says a child's head can become trapped in the opening between the seat and the tray. And at the movies, it was a weekend of sequel successes. Animated Disney sequel Zootopia 2 earned more than $96 million. It brought in more than $500 million globally since its Wednesday opening, making it the highest international opening ever for an animated movie. Wicked for Good raked in about $63 million in its second weekend, while Now You See Me, Now You Don't came in with $7 million. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to CBSMoneyWatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Carissa Lawson.
Thank you, Carissa. Let's check stocks on this first day of December. The work week off to a bad start. The Dow is in the red, down 205 points. The Nasdaq is off 27, and the S&P 500 is down 8. We'll have today's farm numbers coming up next, and Jacob is tracking our first warn forecast. And then a little later today on Live at 4, film critic Will Loper talks about some of the biggest Disney films hitting the big screen for the holidays. That's coming up today on Live at 4. Farm Director Pam Yankee is off today. She's making her way back from the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, but here are the farm numbers to start the work week. And we're hoping to see Pam back here tomorrow. Now to the weather. Boy, after the snow, Jacob, it's cold and slippery out there.
Yeah, and temperatures are going to continue to be cold, and they're going to get even colder for Thursday. But before then, we do have a few small chances of some light snow. We'll see some light snow today, mainly for Madison and areas to the south. And then for Tuesday night into Wednesday, we're going to have another chance of snowfall. This time, it'll likely be for Madison and areas to the north. Now, before I talk about that, I do want to recap November a little bit. Despite the fact that it's been very cold lately, we actually had an above average temperature month only by about a degree. That's because a lot of the middle portion of the month did see those above average temperatures. Some days got well into the 60s, but obviously with the snowfall we saw over the weekend, we did see above average snowfall. But even if you take out that system, we saw about 2 inches of snow beyond it. So the average snowfall for November is 3 inches. So in general, not too far off from normal, despite that, if you don't count that one system. But obviously that one system completely shot us above the average by over 10 inches. Now, as we head into December, we are going to see a few more small chances of snowfall. Again, looking at today, this afternoon, we'll see some snow showers move into the area. Snow will be light to moderate, nothing too heavy. And this is mainly going to be for Madison and areas to the south as well as to the east, with some northern counties maybe seeing some falling snow at times, but in general, not going to see much. And by the evening, it will already be very broken up, and then it will clear out by the overnight hours. And as we continue into Tuesday, some very light flurries are possible. I don't expect to see much falling snow during this time period. And then we'll start to see a little bit of sunshine again for later Tuesday afternoon. And then Tuesday night, we're going to see some more snow move into our area, this time from the northwest, which will bring the snow mainly for areas north of Madison, with Madison and surrounding areas, especially to the south. Not going to see as much during this time period. And as we get into Wednesday, most of that will have cleared out of the area. Maybe some flurries in the afternoon, but then as we get towards Wednesday night, we'll see the skies become clear, and that will allow those temperatures to really fall. But before I talk about those temperatures, let me show you the snowfall accumulation forecast for today again. No more than an inch of snow for Madison and areas to the south, so this is not going to be a big issue. Now, as we look at the snow chances beyond today and that Tuesday night into Wednesday system, we'll continue to see a few small chances of snowfall towards the end of the week. Still, nothing looks too significant, maybe about an inch at most right now. But as far as accumulation goes, we're not going to see a ton of it this week. But because the temperatures are going to be cold, the snow that's already on the ground is not going anywhere. Now, let's talk about those cold temperatures, because they're going to continue to be cold really for the next 10 days in the foreseeable future. So looking at the wind chill forecast specifically, they're going to stay in the teens all day, dropping into the single digits for Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday afternoon, we may stay in the single digits as the winds will pick up just a little bit. Not going to be too windy. And then it actually will warm up a little bit for Wednesday with wind chills in the 20s. But as we get towards the later portion of the day, Wednesday into Wednesday night, these wind chills are going to plummet. And it's going to be very, very cold once we get towards Wednesday night and Thursday morning. We could see wind chills close to -20, if not a little bit colder. And although it will warm up from there, looking at the high temperatures over the next 10 days, we're going to mostly stay in the 20s. And this time of the year, the average high is still in the upper 30s. So it's going to be a very cold start to December. And as I mentioned, with the snow on the ground, it is not going to go anywhere. So over the next 10 days, we are going to see on and off chances of snowfall, mostly light snow. But the big story is those cold temperatures.
That is a December-looking extended forecast for sure. All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, and our friends at the Dane County Humane Society are one of the many nonprofits in our area that are asking for your help. They're about halfway to their fundraising goal of $140,000, and to get there, they're going to match any donation you can make. The funds will help support the Humane Society's open admission shelter, which means they can help all of the animals, regardless of their age, health, or temperament. If you'd like to donate, head to giveshelter.org/givingtuesday. And as we said, they're about almost halfway to their goal. And we're looking forward to seeing some of the animals later this week here on The Noon Show. But straight ahead when we come back, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here. There's still time. If you have a question for Lisa, go ahead and email it to tips@channel3000.com. And Lisa will answer your questions when we come back. It's a good day to stay in the warm house and email us some questions for Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company. tips@channel3000.com if you have a question. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did, and you?
Too much traveling, but
yeah,
it
I
was
didn't
good.
have any traveling, but it's such a nice holiday.
It feels like we just got rid of the pumpkins, and now we're talking about poinsettias and amaryllis
yes,
and the holiday flowers.
Fancy Christmas flowers, indeed.
Speaking of, that is our first question. Patty is looking for some tips on how to keep her poinsettia thriving and surviving throughout the holidays.
So you have to remember that poinsettias are a euphorbia, which is kind of not a cactus, but related to a cactus. So those are the things they need. They need heat. They need dry soil, and they need a lot of sun. So find your sunniest window that is not really cold, and be sure that you let it dry thoroughly between waterings. If it's in like a fancy foil, like a lot of them come in now, make sure that you put a hole in the bottom of that so it drains. That foil wrap can hold a lot of water and make it soggy.
Okay.
But those are the three things: heat, light, and infrequent watering.
Okay, but they do need a little bit of TLC.
They do, but they're from Mexico. So think about the Mexican landscape where they grow wild, and those are the conditions that they like.
Okay. Laura says she has a plant. It looks like a red flower. It looks like a peace lily. It blooms often, but it's getting kind of leggy and it doesn't stand up anymore. So she wants to know if she should repot it. Do you know what that is?
It's probably an anthurium. They come mostly in red. It's a tropical plant, very shiny leaves. That flower is actually the thing in the center, and that, like a poinsettia, is a bract. It's a sort of modified leaf form that is part of the flower. Anthuriums like a lot of sun. Temperature-wise, you don't want it to be too cold, and they also, though, can withstand moisture soils. This is not a great time to be repotting plants. So if it's really floppy, what I would do is get some stakes and sort of put 3 stakes in the pot, and then kind of some twine or something to keep it upright, and then do your repotting end of February, early March, as the days are getting longer.
Okay, all right, good idea. Glory would like to know if she should fertilize her cactus after it finishes blooming. She said it was beautiful this year. She has a light pink red cacti.
So I'm assuming she's talking about a holiday cactus, a Christmas cactus, a Thanksgiving cactus. Cactus do not require a lot of fertilizing to get them to bloom or to keep them happy. They grow in the desert where there's not a lot of fertility to the soil. What you want to do, though, is make sure it gets plenty of light, that especially in the winter, you make sure it dries out thoroughly between waterings. I always like to say that for every couple inches of pot diameter, that's a week between waterings. With a Christmas cactus, just watch the watering, enjoy the flowers while they are, and really you don't need fertilizer to keep them flowering or healthy.
Okay, that was a good question. Frank says his climbing rose bush has not had any roses on it for several years, and he's wondering what he needs to do.
So this is a little tricky, Frank. If you have a climbing rose that is grafted, meaning it's a hybrid rose, the rose that's flowering is the top half, and then it's grafted onto some hardier rootstock, and it died back all the way to the ground below the rootstock, then it's probably just new growth coming from the rootstock. If you had a hardy climbing rose, like Blaze or some of the other Canadian ones, the other thing that would cause it to not bloom as well would be sunlight. You plant a rose in a place and there's a lot of sun, things grow up around it and cast more shade. So I would guess it's one of those two things.
Okay. If I didn't get to your question, I always send them to Lisa.
Yeah, and I'll have the plant desk answer them.
The nicest person ever. She'll get you an answer. But thanks everybody for your questions. Thanks, Lisa. Good to see you. Let's head over to Jacob for a final check of the forecast. Are we going to get any sun this week?
We definitely will get some sun, but the day that we're most likely going to get sun is going to be the coldest day, with highs in the teens for Thursday. The story this week, remaining cold with a few small snow chances, specifically today and Wednesday. Not going to see a lot of accumulation, with a few other snow chances to end the week and for next week. But looking beyond even the next 10 days, temperatures are going to remain cold, with some of the overnight lows easily dropping into the single digits. And as I mentioned earlier, wind chills, specifically Thursday morning, could drop into the negative 20s for some areas.
Stay warm, everybody, and thank you so much for watching. The Bold and the Beautiful is coming up next, and we hope to see you back here this afternoon for Live at 4. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000 Plus. See, there's the pumpkins, Lisa. We still have a good day, everybody.